All right. My inspiration for this week comes from a quote by Winston Churchill. And it says, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." And that says a lot. So I want to just say to you, don't give up. You you've actually published, you're in the market, you've been making sales, and just hang in there. Just don't quit. Just make a decision not to quit because the best is yet to come. I want to welcome you to Clayton Communications and Publishing, our Facebook Thursday online newsletter for first time book publishers, where we turn stories into books. I am your host for today, Coach Blondie. And I thought I would talk about increasing book sales and maybe some of the things I suggest or ideas that you perhaps may not have thought about. And so that will be where I'll be headed today. You've invested your time, you've invested your money in getting published, and it wasn't for naught. Okay. There is a purpose in it, and so you just need to continue to be encouraged. Tonight I'm going to, or today I'm going to use an example uh, that to help you to make the connection. And that example is by way of I've just come up with this imaginary book, and I want to use that in order to help you to make the connection. And it's called Workplace Stress and What to Do About It. Or maybe we'll call it, well, no, we'll leave it like that, Workplace Stress and What to Do About It. As I began to go through this, where do we start? Where do we start? Well, first of all, if you are like most, you are on any social media platform, you might want that might be a first place to start. And so you may begin with a post, for example, and it may be a post relevant to what your book topic is. Now, for my imaginary or my sample book that I've come up with, I might use a post like managing workplace stress. Tip number one, find the cause. And so, what am I doing? I'm kind of already giving them solutions to solutions that may help them, and they haven't even looked into it any further than that. But I'm saying to them, find the cause. And of course, you can do this on Facebook. You can do it on LinkedIn. Groups are also popular on Facebook. You might want to consider a public group and invite your friends and your family to that public group. And in my sample book, I would, as I share with you that I'm using a sample book example, what I would do is I might call that group Your Stress and Burnout. Think of an event that also that you could host and on let's say Facebook or on YouTube or wherever you want to, whatever social platform that you wanted to host that group. And so my event that I might would come up with would I might title it "Dump Your Stress Day." Okay, and see what the interest level is on stress, or I might call stress and your emotions. In it also, you if you don't have a website might be a good idea for you to have. Why? Because buyers, if they're interested in what you have to say, they will want to look for a way to make a connection with you. Now, if you get printed or you've gotten printed through the Amazon KDP network, of course they can go straight to the Amazon and order your book. Now, the only thing with Amazon, if that is who you're using or have used or that you, well, I'll say that you're using, is that your royalties are not going to be paid right away. Now, if you have a website, of course, you can expect that your royalties would be faster. So don't get discouraged because the book sales have slowed down. You're in new territory. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn how to navigate through this territory. And part of it is marketing. And so just set that in your mind that you are in a territory that you're not that familiar with and you are determined to become more familiar with. Here's a tip for you. Don't just share what your book is about. I hear that all the time as a publisher. I ask, okay, so what is your book about? And most of the time, there's a hesitancy. They can't really say. But the tip is, first of all, it's not about so much what your book is about. You want to express it in terms of how can what I have benefit you, okay? And can what you have help them to navigate through or find a solution to something. So that's what you have to figure out from your own work, unless you want to work with a coach and help, and then they can help you to do that. My sample burnout book that I chose to use to share this information, what I would do is I would first of all listen to conversations around me. And from listening to those conversations around me, I would begin to listen for things like, I can't stand my job, I'm so stressed out from my job, and so on and so forth. And I might ask a question. So, how are you handling your stress from your job? And I would listen for their answer. And then I would say, well, if you're interested in getting some help, I wrote a book on that very subject, and that might give you some insight into solutions which can help you. You want to also keep extra books on hand. Why is that important? Because you never know when you're talking to someone and you're sharing your story or the benefits that after you've listened to conversations, and they may say, "Well, I want a copy of that book." I got a copy for you. I'll grab it out of my car or whatever. And then, of course, you can also ask some friends. You have plenty of friends on social media. You might ask them to post a copy of your book. Now, in the case of my sample book, what I would do is I would post something like working through my workplace stress using this book. And of course, in this case, it's my book, but it could also be your book. And they would be helping you to promote, because if it helped them, then of course it might help someone else. Or maybe some of them could do let's say, a book review. They go into your book, they take out a couple excerpts, and they just talk about it. Maybe two of them can get together and talk about it, have this little live show where they just talk about it. So these are things, but you have to ask your friends. They're not going to volunteer. They may not know what to do, but if you kind of tell them what to do, I'm sure that they can pull it off. And there are a few Facebook groups where you can actually go in and just blatantly promote your book. And so you have to look for them, look at the rules that they have, because if not, that can get you terminated from the group. And then promote your book through some of those groups. And uh, some of you can, instead of the approach, buy my book, what you might want to say, in my case, I would say something like, are you stressed out? Or let's say if you're doing a post in one of the groups, you might say something like, are you stressed out, irritable, developing a negative attitude? My new book might be able to help you. Workplace stress and what to do provides the solution. Okay, so what are you doing? You're giving them something that could possibly help their situation. You can also create a post according to what your subject is. So if your subject is not burnout or stress, then you create it according to what your subject is. And just don't be afraid. Just jump in there, keep doing and doing and doing. If you get a suggestion, implement it. You never know what's going to work for you. Okay. Can your book provide let's say, a can your book provide benefits to, let's say, a LinkedIn user? And if I were, from my sample book, wanting to post on LinkedIn, I might say something like, need someone to walk alongside you as you go through workplace stress, a place to vent and reset. Okay. And you can also, and that would be the way that I would go. So you got to figure out where you're going to go. And the reason I use my sample book is so that it can help give you some clarity, or an example that you would be able to follow and create your own. The other thing is, you can volunteer to speak. Certain groups sometimes need volunteers, and so you can volunteer. Look through your subtitles and decide, okay, I can use this subtitle to carve out a topic for that particular group, and then that's what you do. Okay. Also, Facebook allows you to run ads. You might want to run an ad on Facebook, and of course, you can do it according to your budget, whatever your budget is. And I just want to let you know that increasing book sales is doing one thing at a time, and just keep taking steps to keep going. When you hear about something, do some research, try it. You don't ever know what's going to work for you. And this is what I did over the course of time. I just kept trying stuff, and that's why I can talk about it now, because I've done some of I've done I teach what I've done. Okay. And as you grow, you also are going to realize that I started out as just an author, and now I have a different title. Of course, it's not the job burnout coach, but I have a different title. I have a title, book publishing coach. I have a transformational coach title, or transforming coach title. So I sometimes will bounce from one to the other depending upon what I'm doing. As you grow, you're going to start to become more of an expert. So in my case, with my sample book, I would do something like a job burnout coach. And so think about what you're doing and what your book represents and how people can benefit for it. And then take some time and brainstorm what you want to call it, how you want to be known in the marketplace. So I've just gone through a couple of things with you. Podcasting is another way that you can make more sales. YouTube is another way that you can make more sales. But in podcasting, you would want to do the same thing. You would want to look at your subtitles, and from your subtitles, just carve out a title, or just come up with a title so that you can talk about. Okay. You may also want, if you're going to carve out a title, of course, that would be like tweaking some of your subtitles to make it a relevant talk. And another example is YouTube. You can use YouTube to help you to do more book sales, and of course, create a channel. And when you create that channel, then look at how you're going to name that channel. In my case, I might call that channel Workplace Stress Solutions, or something. And I'm kind of just, flowing off the top of my head with this, but there are so many ways in which you can do it. There's a lot of free things in your community. You might, if depending on, if I were in the community and I had done a book on burnout, I would want to educate the people in the community. So I would want to connect with, organizations that are have, let's say, job fairs, or they have some kind of event going on, and I would want to connect. And when I connect with it, what I would want to do is I want to make sure I have cards with my book, a picture of my book on it. I would also want my title in my sample book would be Job Coach Burnout. Uh, so I would want to have that on my card, and the book on the back, so that they can contact me. And then I would be talking from my book, the subtitles of my book. I would be asking them questions in terms of what are they going through on their jobs, just to get them talking, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to help yourself and to stand out in the crowd. And so I hope that some of the things that I've shared with you have been helpful. That's all I have for today. And until next time, this is Coach Blondie signing off. Keep the faith.